Look out across the Kepulauan Riau, and you see a sprawling network of tropical islands and bright turquoise waters. But for the people who live here, this archipelago holds a different kind of wealth, a massive, living collection of local folklore. Inside a traditional stilt house on one of these white sand beaches, an elderly woman named Wan Cheek sits quietly, weaving a small fishing net. Beside her lies her young grandson, Denny, fighting off sleep and waiting for his nightly story. Tonight, Denny points out the window toward a distinct forested rise in the distance. He wants to know why everyone in their village calls it Bukit Puteri Tujuh, the Hill of the Seven Princesses. One Cheek sets down her net and smiles. As she begins to speak, the familiar walls of the bedroom seem to fade away, pulling Denny back into a time long before their village even existed. These physical landmarks across the Riau Islands function as anchors for the community's shared history. A simple hill like Bukit Puteri Tujuh preserves the specific memory of a moral choice, keeping the lesson visible for anyone who looks toward the horizon. One Cheek's story starts with a young, solitary fisherman named Awang Sukma. He works hard, shares his daily catch with neighbors in need, and returns every evening to an empty hut on the edge of the island. Walking home under a bright full moon, Awang hears laughter echoing from behind a thick grove of trees. He pushes through the brush and discovers a hidden, pristine pond where 7 celestial fairies are swimming in the cool water. Awang recognizes them immediately from the old stories. He also remembers the specific requirement for these beings to travel between heaven and earth. They must possess their magical woven shawl. Without it, they are trapped. Struck by a sudden, selfish impulse, Awang creeps toward the edge of the water. He snatches the most beautiful shawl, belonging to the youngest fairy, Puteri Mayang, and hides it deep inside his belongings. When the fairies finish bathing, 6 of them grab their shawls and ascend into the night sky. Puteri Mayang is left behind, weeping and stranded. Awang then emerges from the shadows, pretending to stumble upon her by chance, and offers her shelter in his home. Awang gains the companionship he desperately wanted, but by trapping Mayang on Earth under the guise of a rescue, he begins their life together with a profound deception, an act of dishonesty that will eventually demand a reckoning. Years pass. Awang and Mayang marry, living peacefully as husband and wife. They welcome a daughter into the world, and by all outward appearances, they have built a stable, happy life on the coast. Yet a silent tension sits beneath the surface. Awang lives in constant, quiet fear of his secret being discovered, while Mayang frequently stares up at the night sky, aching with a homesickness she cannot resolve. The turning point arrives on a random afternoon. While playing in the family's rice barn, their young daughter spots a strange, shimmering fabric buried beneath a pile of dry stalks. She pulls it out and excitedly brings it to her mother. The moment Mayang sees the shawl, the secret is out. Awang bows his head down, confessing everything. He braces himself, certain that his wife will unleash years of bitterness for the life he forced upon her through theft. But Mayang reacts with quiet sadness rather than rage. She acknowledges the genuine love they've shared, but tells Awang firmly that she must use the shawl to visit her sisters. The truth has finally set her path back to the heavens. Embracing her husband and daughter one last time, Mayang wraps the glowing silk around her shoulders. She begins lifting off the ground, ascending into the night, leaving them with a promise to return to this exact hill every time the moon is full. Awang learns that while love can survive physical separation, it cannot exist without honesty. He is left on the shore with his daughter, watching the sky and waiting for the moon to prove that his wife's forgiveness is real. The starry's on his mat, his eyes heavy, processing the bittersweet reality that Awang had to let Mayang go to honor the truth. One Cheek strokes her grandson's hair, laying out the heart of the legend. She explains that honesty is the only way to build a lasting bond, and that real devotion can bridge any distance, provided it is built on a foundation of trust. To this day, when the villagers see a bright full moon over Bukit Puteri Tujuh, they see it as the visible fulfillment of a promise. It's a sign that Mayang has returned, just as she said she would. Years later, Denny has grown into a man who sails these same waters, fulfilling the promise he made to his grandmother, navigating from one remote island to the next with a specific cargo. At every port, Denny gathers a new generation of children to tell them the story of the fisherman and the fairy. He repeats the legend exactly as he heard it, ensuring that the warning about the stolen shawl is never forgotten by the people of the coast. By carrying these stories across the archipelago, Denny makes sure his grandmother's voice continues to reach new ears. He gives these children a reason to value honesty in their own families, keeping the legend of the 7 princesses alive in the hearts of every child who looks up at the moon.